Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Koala English Podcast. I'm Samantha. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've been with us before, it's great to have you back. Today, we're talking about something small but very powerful for your English. We're talking about negative prefixes. Now, I know that might sound a little technical, but don't worry. This is actually one of the easiest ways to grow your vocabulary faster. Do you want to understand more words? Without checking a dictionary, I'm going to show you a simple but helpful idea. In English, we can take one word and add a few letters at the beginning to change its meaning, to the opposite. For example, happy becomes unhappy. Possible becomes impossible. So by learning one word, you can learn its opposite at the same time. Before we begin, if you enjoy learning English with us, please subscribe to the Koala English Podcast. Your support helps us create more helpful lessons for learners around the world. Don't forget to like, share this episode to a friend or someone who is learning English. And let's learn together. Let's begin. Step 1. The big idea, the opposite switch. Let's start with the big idea. A negative prefix is like a small switch at the beginning of a word. When you add it, it changes the meaning of the word into its opposite. That's it. Nothing complicated. Just one small change, and the meaning flips. So, instead of learning two completely new words, you can learn one word and understand its opposite at the same time. Let's feel this together. You already know the word happy. It means feeling good, feeling positive. Now, when we add un to the beginning, we get unhappy. Now the meaning changes. It becomes not happy. Let's try another one. You know the word fair. Something is fair when it is right or equal. Now we add un, and we get unfair. Now it means not fair. One more example. You know the word possible. It means something can happen. Now we add im at the beginning, and we get impossible. Now it means something cannot happen. Do you see what's happening? You are not learning completely new words. You are building new meaning from a word you already know. So, when you see a word like unhappy, you don't need to stop. You don't need to translate. You don't need to check your phone, because your brain already understands happy is positive. Un means not. So, unhappy means not happy. This is the secret. One word can give you two meanings, and once you understand this idea, you start learning faster. You start understanding more. Step 2. Un, the most common one. Now let's open your toolkit. The first tool is the most common one, and you've probably already seen it many times. It is un. This small prefix has a very simple meaning. It means not. And most of the time, we use it with adjectives. Let's look at some examples together. You already know the word happy. Now, when we add un to the beginning, we get unhappy. Now the meaning changes to not happy. Something is fair when it is right or equal. Add un, and it becomes unfair. Let's try a few more. Certain becomes uncertain, meaning not sure. Healthy becomes unhealthy, meaning not good for your body. lucky becomes unlucky, meaning not having good luck. Do you notice? The pattern, the base word stays the same, but the feeling changes. Positive becomes negative. Clear becomes unclear. Now, let's bring this into real life. Imagine you just finished an exam. You might say, that test was unfair. Maybe the questions were too difficult. Or maybe you've been tired for many days. You say, I feel very unhealthy these days. Or your friend is making a big decision. You notice something and say, he seems uncertain about his decision. Do you see what's happening here? You are not memorizing many separate words. You are building new words from words you already know. So, next time you learn a new adjective, pause for a moment and ask yourself, can I add un to this word? And many times the answer is yes. And just like that, you've learned one more word without extra effort. Step 3. Dis, the action reverser. Now, let's look at another powerful prefix. This one is very common and very useful in everyday English. It is dis. This prefix is often used with verbs, and it has two main meanings. It can mean not. You already know the word agree. It means you think something is right. Now when we add dis, it becomes disagree. Now the meaning changes to not agree. Let's try another one. You know the word like, it means you enjoy something. Add dis, and it becomes dislike. Now it means you do not like it. Now let's look at something slightly different. The word appear means something becomes visible. Now when we add dis, we get disappear. And now the meaning is stronger. It means something goes away or is no longer there. So here, dis is not just not. It is reversing the action. Now let's bring this into real life. Imagine someone shares an idea in a meeting. You might say, I disagree with that idea. Or someone asks you about food. You might say, I dislike spicy food. Or imagine watching a magic show. You see something surprising. You say, the magician made the rabbit disappear. Do you feel the difference? Sometimes dis means simply not, and sometimes it changes the direction of an action. So here's the key idea. Dis is about stopping something or reversing something or showing the opposite action. And once you understand this, you start to recognize it everywhere. You don't just hear the word, you understand what is happening inside the word, and that's when your English starts to feel more natural. Step 4, the in family, same meaning, different forms. Now, this part might look a little confusing at first. You might see different forms and think, why are there so many? But stay with me, because once you understand the idea, it actually becomes very simple. We have a small family of prefixes: in, im, il, ear. They may look different, but they all have the same meaning. They mean not. So, why do we have 4 different forms? The answer is very simple. It's about sound. English changes the spelling to make words easier and smoother to pronounce. Let's look at this step by step. You know the word correct. When we add in, we get incorrect. It means not correct. Now take the word possible. If we say impossible, it sounds difficult. So English changes it to impossible. Now it is easier to say, let's try another one. The word legal becomes illegal. Here, in changes to ill because the word starts with the letter L, and the word regular becomes irregular. Here, in changes to ear because the word starts with R. So the meaning stays the same, but the form changes slightly. To match the sound of the word that comes after, here is a simple way to remember it. We use im before words that start with p, b, or m. We use il before words that start with l. And for many other words, we simply use in. Now, don't worry if you don't remember all of this immediately. You don't need to memorize every rule perfectly. Instead, just start noticing. When you read, when you listen, when you see words like impossible, illegal, or irregular, pause for a second. Feel the word. Recognize the pattern. Over time, something interesting happens. You stop thinking about rules, and your ear starts to guide you. You begin to feel what sounds right. And that's when English starts to feel natural. Step 5. The tricky lookalikes. Important. Now, let's talk about something very important. Because not everything is as simple as it looks. Sometimes in English, two words look almost the same, but their meanings are completely different. These are what I like to call the tricky pairs. And if you don't notice the difference, it's very easy to make mistakes. Let's look at the first pair, dislike and unlike. They look similar, but they are used in very different ways. Dislike is a verb. It means you do not like something. For example, I dislike coffee. This means you don't enjoy coffee. It's simple and direct. Now look at unlike. This is not a verb. It is a preposition, and it is used to compare things. It means different from. For example, unlike my brother, I like tea. Here you are comparing yourself with your brother. So even though the words look similar, they have completely different jobs. Let's look at another pair, insecure and unsecure. Insecure is about feelings. It describes a person who is not confident, someone who feels unsure about themselves. For example, she feels insecure when she speaks English. This is emotional. It's about confidence. This is not about feelings. It describes something that is not safe or not protected. For example, this website is unsecure. Now we are talking about safety, not emotions. So even though the words look similar, the meaning is very different. One is inside a person, the other is about a situation. Now let's look at one more pair, and this one is very important. Disinterested and uninterested describe someone who is fair and not involved emotionally. For example, a judge must be disinterested. This means the judge should not take sides. They should be fair and unbiased. Now look at uninterested. It means bored. It means you are not interested in something. For example, I'm uninterested in that topic. This means you don't care about it. So here's the key idea. Sometimes two words look almost the same, but their meanings and uses are completely different. That's why it's important to do more than just recognize a word. You need to understand how it is used. You need to feel the difference. And the good news is the more you read, the more you listen, the more you notice these patterns, the easier it becomes. And slowly, you stop guessing and you start choosing the right word naturally. Step 6. Your safety net when you're not sure. Now, let's be honest for a moment. Sometimes you forget. Sometimes you're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly your mind goes blank. You know the word, you know the meaning, but you're not sure about the prefix, and you start thinking, is it illegal or unlegal or maybe dislegal? And in that moment, you stop speaking. You hesitate. You lose confidence. But here's the good news. You don't need to be perfect to communicate. You just need to be clear. So here's your safety net. When you're not sure, just use the word not before the main word. Let's see how this works. Instead of worrying about illegal, you can simply say not legal. You can say not happy. Instead of impossible, you can say not possible. Now, is this the most natural way? Maybe not always? Native speakers might use the prefix form more often. But here's the important question. Will people understand you? Yes, every time. And that's what really matters. Because communication is not about being perfect. It's about being understood. So next time you feel stuck, don't stop, don't stay silent, don't overthink. Just take a breath, say not, and keep speaking. Because clear communication is always more powerful than perfect grammar. Step 7. How to make it natural. Now, the question is, how do you really remember all of this? How do you make it feel natural, not something you have to think about every time? The answer is simple. Not memorization, but exposure. That means you read, you listen, and most importantly, you notice. Let's take an example. You see a word like irresponsible. Most learners will just read it and move on. But you can do something different. Pause for a moment. Look at the word more closely. Break it into 2 parts. You can see responsible. Now think about the meaning of responsible. It describes someone who is careful, reliable, and does the right thing. Then you look at the prefix ear. You already know it means not. So now you don't just read the word. You understand it. Irresponsible means someone who is not responsible. And here's the important part. You don't need to translate it into your language. You don't need to stop and search for it. You simply recognize it. Over time, something very powerful starts to happen. Your brain changes the way it processes English. At the beginning, you translate everything, word by word, slowly. But as you keep reading, as you keep listening, as you keep noticing patterns like this, your brain stops translating. You see a word and you understand it immediately. No pause, no stress, no effort. And that's when English starts to feel natural. Not because you memorized everything, but because you've seen it enough times to truly understand it. Step 8. the moment everything changes. Now, let's bring everything together. And this is the moment where something starts to click, where everything becomes clearer. Let's look at a few simple words. You know the word happy. Now you also understand unhappy. You know the word agree. Now you understand disagree. You know the word legal. Now you understand illegal. Do you see what's happening? The root word stays the same, but the meaning changes. And suddenly, your vocabulary grows. Not slowly, but instantly. You are not learning completely new words, one by one. You are building new words from what you already know. And that changes everything. Because now, learning English feels easier. Not because the language has changed, but because the way you see it has changed. You stop seeing long, unfamiliar words, and you start seeing patterns. You start understanding meaning faster. And this is the real shift, the moment where English stops feeling confusing and starts feeling logical. Not perfect, but clear. Not difficult, but possible. And once you reach this moment, you realize something important. You are not just memorizing vocabulary anymore. You are understanding how English works. Step 9, real life feeling. Now, let's bring this into real life. Imagine this. You're listening to a conversation and someone says, "That situation is unfair." Before, you might stop, you might think about the word, but now something is different. You hear the word unfair, and you already know. Fair means something is right. Un means not. So, instantly, you understand. No effort. Or imagine someone says, "I disagree with you." You don't need to think. You don't need to analyze. You already feel the meaning. This is what fluency really looks like. Not speaking very fast, but understanding quickly and naturally. Because when you understand faster, you can respond faster, and your conversation starts to flow. Final thought before practice. So, next time you learn a new word, don't stop there. Take one more small step. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, can I make the opposite of this word? Because maybe that one word you just learned is not just one word. It could be two or even more. And slowly, very slowly, something begins to change. You start reading faster. You start understanding more. You start feeling more confident. Not because you studied harder, but because you're learning smarter. Because now, you are not just learning vocabulary. You are understanding how English works. And that is real progress. So, let's pause for a moment. At the beginning of this episode, words like un, dis, in, im, il, and ear might have felt small, confusing, maybe even a little random. Just a few extra letters. But somehow, they could make a word feel completely new. You might remember those moments. You're reading, you see a word like impossible or irregular, and you stop. You hesitate. You wonder, what does this mean? Is this a new word? And everything slows down. But now, take a breath. Not the words, but the way you see them. Now you understand. These prefixes are not random. They simply mean not or show the opposite. They are not something to memorize one by one. They are patterns you can recognize. And once you see the pattern, you unlock more meaning instantly. Let's feel that one more time. Simply, you know the word happy. Add a small change, unhappy. You know the word agree. Add a small change, disagree. You know the word legal. Add a small change, illegal. Same word, different meaning, different feeling. And this is something important I want you to remember. English is not only about learning more words. It's about understanding how words are built. These small prefixes, they give you clues. They help you guess meaning. They help you understand faster, even when you see a word for the first time. And when you start noticing them, something changes. Your reading becomes smoother. Your listening becomes easier. Your confidence becomes stronger. So next time you learn a new word, don't stop there. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, can I make the opposite? Because maybe that one word is actually two. And slowly, very slowly, something begins to change. You stop translating every word. You start understanding naturally. Because you're not just learning vocabulary anymore, you're learning how English works. And that is real progress. Thank you for learning with me today. If this episode helped you, please like, share, and subscribe to the Koala English Podcast. And I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what new word did you learn today? And if you can, send this episode to one person who is learning English. Because sometimes one simple idea can make everything clearer. Keep going, even when it feels slow, because step by step, you are improving. And I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep growing. Bye for now.